They're telling you America is winning. They're telling you Operation Epic Fury has decimated Iran's missile capacity. They're telling you this will be over in weeks. But here's what nobody on the evening news is explaining to you. While generals celebrate interceptor success rates, accountants at the Pentagon are looking at spreadsheets in absolute horror. The United States has spent $12 billion in just 18 days. That's $1 billion a day. Burned, gone, evaporated. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. You're already paying for it. Not someday. Not through future taxes. Right now. Every single time you pull up to a gas station. Today, I'm going to show you the real math behind Operation Epic Fury, the math they don't put on cable news. Let me unpack it. Let's start with the official story. The White House says, and I quote, "Iran's ballistic missile capacity is functionally destroyed. Their Navy assessed combat ineffective. Complete and total aerial dominance over Iran." It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Sounds like victory. Let me show you why it's a trap. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, one of the most respected defense think tanks in Washington, ran the numbers. The first 100 hours of this war cost $3.7 billion. That's $891 million per day, just in the opening phase. But it didn't stop there. Pentagon officials told Congress in a classified briefing that the first 6 days alone cost $11.3 billion. By day 12, CSIS updated their estimate to $16.5 billion. And now, 18 days in, we've crossed $12 billion in confirmed spending, with some Republican members of Congress privately telling Politico they fear the real number is closer to $2 billion per day. Let me put that in perspective. $12 billion. That's enough to fund the entire National Park Service for more than 3 years. It could pay the annual salaries of 166,000 teachers, roughly the entire teaching workforce of Florida. It could provide full Pell Grants for 1.6 million college students. Instead, it was spent in 18 days on missiles. Now here's where the math gets truly devastating. Let me show you something called the cost exchange ratio, and this is the number that should terrify every American taxpayer. Iran launched over 2,000 drones since February 28th. Each one of those drones cost roughly $30,000 to build. Maybe less. Iran also fired over 500 ballistic missiles. Now here's the question nobody in Washington wants to say out loud. How much does it cost to shoot down a $30,000 drone? A single Patriot interceptor missile costs approximately $3.7 million. A THAAD interceptor, $12 million each. Jennifer Kavanaugh of Defense Priorities estimates the U.S. easily spent more than $10 billion on air defense systems in just the first 48 hours. Let me do the math for you. The cost exchange ratio, interceptor versus drone, is 106 to 1. That means for every single dollar Iran spends on a drone, the United States spends $106 to destroy it. This is not a theory. This is math. And it's math that works entirely in the attacker's favor. CSIS independently confirmed this. They estimate interceptor costs alone at between $1.2 and $3.7 billion for just the first 100 hours. Iran is bleeding the American treasury with $30,000 cardboard drones, and the Pentagon is responding with $12 million guided missiles. Now zoom out. This war has been going on for 18 days. The Trump administration says it could last 4 to 5 more weeks. Do the math. At $1 billion per day, conservative estimate, we're looking at a total cost that the Penn Wharton budget model projects at $65 billion for direct military operations alone. If it extends beyond 2 months, that number climbs significantly. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. The cost of the Iraq War was initially estimated at $50 to $60 billion. Brown University's Costs of War project found the actual total was $8 trillion. $8 trillion. Doesn't this all remind you of 2003? But here's where it gets personal. Because the $12 billion in military spending, that's only the bill you'll see years from now in the federal budget. The bill you're paying right now, today, this week, is at the gas pump. Before this war started, you were paying $2.98 for a gallon of regular gas, the national average. As of today, according to LLA, you're paying $3.79. That's an 81-cent increase in 18 days, the biggest monthly surge since Hurricane Katrina. Let me translate that into dollars deducted from your checking account. The average American drives about 12,000 miles a year. At current fuel economy, that's roughly 500 gallons per year. An 80-cent increase means you are paying $400 extra a year just for gasoline. That's money that was in your pocket 3 weeks ago. But it gets worse. Diesel, the fuel that powers every truck, every train, every piece of farm equipment that gets food to your grocery store, just hit $5 a gallon. That's up $1.34 from last month, a 34% increase. Here's what nobody is talking about. When diesel goes up, everything goes up. Every product you buy at Walmart, every piece of food at your local grocery store, every Amazon package delivered to your door, all of it moves on diesel. Higher diesel prices are an invisible inflation tax on the entire economy. And why is this happening? Because Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's daily oil supply passes through that waterway. Oil prices spiked from $70 a barrel before the war to nearly $120, the highest since 2022. The International Energy Agency declared an emergency and ordered the release of 400 million barrels from strategic reserves. The U.S. alone committed 172 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Let that sink in. We're draining our emergency oil reserves, reserves meant for genuine national emergencies, to cushion the price shock from a war we started. Now zoom out, way out. Because here's the question that should be echoing in every strategic planning room in Washington. While America spends $1 billion a day burning through its most advanced munitions, and while American families pay an extra $400 a year in gas, who is actually winning? China hasn't fired a single missile. China hasn't spent a single dollar. But China is the #1 buyer of discounted Iranian and Russian oil. While America's energy costs skyrocket, China's manufacturing input costs stay flat or go down. While the U.S. repositions aircraft carriers from the Pacific to the Persian Gulf, the Taiwan Strait gets a little emptier. Congressman Brendan Boyle formally asked the Congressional Budget Office to analyze the opportunity cost, his words, of moving an aircraft carrier from near Taiwan to off the coast of Iran. That's the real cost-exchange ratio nobody talks about, not interceptor versus drone, but American strategic attention in the Pacific versus a Middle Eastern war with no exit plan. Senator Elizabeth Warren said it plainly after a classified briefing: the Trump administration has no plan in Iran. Senator Chris Murphy called the strategy incoherent and incomplete. 40,000 troops deployed, no congressional authorization, no exit strategy, and a price tag that history tells us will be 5 to 10 times higher than the initial estimate. The bills always come. The only question is who pays them. Let me bring this home. Let me translate all of this into your monthly budget. Gas, plus 80 cents per gallon. That's roughly $33 extra a month if you're an average driver. More if you commute. Groceries. Diesel-driven supply chain costs are already being passed through. Analysts project a 3 to 5% increase in food prices within 60 days. Heating, natural gas, and electricity prices are rising in tandem with oil. Your utility bill is next. Add it all up, and according to the Center for American Progress, the average American household is looking at $100 to $200 per month in additional costs directly linked to this conflict. $100 to $200 a month. Not because of inflation, not because of the economy, because of a war that 56% of Americans, according to an NPR, PBS, Marist poll, don't even support. Politicians talk about national security. Generals talk about interceptor success rates. Cable news talks about targets destroyed. Nobody talks about the $33 extra you spent on gas this month. Nobody talks about the grocery bill that's about to go up. Nobody talks about the $8 trillion lesson we supposedly learned from Iraq. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If this war costs $65 billion, the conservative estimate, and every American household absorbs $100 to $200 a month in hidden costs, is it worth it? The math doesn't care about your politics. The math doesn't care about your party. The math just is. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to understand the mechanisms that mainstream media won't explain to you, subscribe, because this is just the beginning.